For Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser here with now former Tulane linebacker and New Orleans Saints rookie linebacker Nick Anderson. Nick, how does that last part sound, or how does any of it sound, really, knowing that you're taking those next steps and you're heading off to an NFL opportunity here in a couple days?
Most definitely, man. It's been surreal these past 2 weeks. It's starting to really settle in that I'm done with Tulane and now an NFL player. Really just a dream come true, man. But I know that there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot that I have to accomplish, and it's a surreal moment of having accomplished getting to this level. But now it's time to kick the door down and get everything up and running.
When did you realize? I mean, as much as I cover high school and even see some youth stuff, I'll have kids that are third grade telling me they're going to the NFL one day. And then I have guys that are going through the recruiting process or even at their colleges that don't know if they're going to have that opportunity. When did it kind of click for you that this could be a place that you ended up, working for a roster spot here this summer?
Just overall, since I started playing football, my mentality has always been to, playing the NFL. That has always been a dream, just like any other kid. But it really cemented in my mind that I truly had the opportunity. I want to say after my 2020 season at Tulane. I had a great season, and agents started to reach out, and then that's when I really realized, oh, this is a reality. Like, I really got that true opportunity to go fulfill my dream, and that's when I started working even harder than what I was at first because going junior college and playing high school football, the goal was always, okay, let's get to the Division I football, let's play Division I football. But having had a very, very successful season in 2020 and started to get the attraction of agents and different scouting websites, talking about, future prospects and my name being up there really showed me like, okay, the goal is obtainable. Like, what you're going to do to get it.
I was curious, the JUCO experience, how much does something like that potentially help with going in as an undrafted free agent, just having been through that grind of having to prove yourself and earn that opportunity. You went through it as a high school guy, getting your foot into the JUCO door and getting some attention from some of the D1s, but then JUCO can be a bit of a grind itself to earn that next spot. How much does that help with your situation now?
Most definitely, I'll tell everybody I wouldn't have traded my not even years, but 6 months at Jones College for anything in the world. Coming in as a freshman, I really was on a little high horse because I had been the best player on my team in high school, and I got to JUCO and got humbled because a lot of people don't realize it's great, amazing athletes in junior college. They just happen to have been in a bad situation or maybe needing to transfer or may have not had the academic abilities as they did athletic wise. So going into junior college before I ended up starting all 10 games that season. But I didn't break the starting lineup until like the week before the first game. That whole summer was a grind. It was a mentality of starting over, working my way from the bottom of the depth chart, learning the new playbook and just, getting after it day in and day out. And that really just cemented my work ethic going forward, just knowing, I had to reset when I got to Tulane. At Tulane, I wasn't a starter right off bat. I had to work my way up. So there's something that I'm used to, something that's not foreign to me, really having to go out there and prove myself and show that I belong amongst the greats, and belong really amongst everybody else that's on the field. So I'm looking forward to rookie mini camp, OTAs, and then mini camp and training camp afterwards, just as another opportunity for me to go out there and prove myself. That chip on my shoulder, only gets heavier and heavier. And that's just, drives me and makes me want to work even harder to, just prove that I'm just as good as anybody else. So going into training camp, JUCO, and also my experience at Tulane has definitely prepared me for what I'm about to go against.
What was your draft lead up or draft weekend process like? If you could kind of take me through and when the Saints call comes, how quickly all that, because as soon as the draft ends, things start flying. People don't realize how active those minutes even after the draft wraps up become. How quickly did it all come together for you?
Most definitely. So heading into the draft, me and my agency had like a spreadsheet of all the teams that I have communicated with prior to the draft starting. So looking at the spreadsheet, it really was about, I want to say 15 to 18 teams that have reached out, and I have had communication with. But all my, draft grades really range from mid day 3 to priority free agent. So really, when you're in that type of situation, it's like, okay, well, I could get drafted, but if I don't get drafted, like, what's gonna happen with free agency? So Friday, Thursday when the draft started, just watching it, really as a fan at that point, because I knew I wasn't, gonna be selected in the first round. Then the second day was really supporting my teammates, Dorian and Tyjae. I knew those guys were probably gonna go in, and then I woke up Saturday and it was like, okay, like what's gonna happen today? So early that morning, I'm not gonna lie, the whole process, honestly, the whole draft process was really smooth and not really taxing, but day 3 of the draft that Saturday had to been the most stressful day of my life. Really, because you just really don't know what's going on. Like, I had different teams calling that morning, checking in with me, sending me messages saying, we fighting to get you, but like things can just happen and draft boards can go a different type of way. And it's one of those things where a lot of people get mad and resent the coaches and be like, man, they lied to me. They didn't come get me. But that's not the case. I feel like, a team wouldn't reach out and tell you they want you. They genuinely wasn't interested. It's just things happen. There's a lot of picks, there's a lot of rounds, different things happen. And a lot of times it's not really the coaches that are making the final decisions on to go get players. So I had been in contact with a lot of teams, and going into the 7th round, it came down to really the Seahawks, the Jets, Broncos, and Bengals and Rams. Those were the final 5 teams going into the 7th round. The Saints wasn't even in the top 5. But prior to the draft, I talked to the Saints at the local day and the pro day, and they had definitely shown interest. They were the most transparent team throughout the whole process and told me that they definitely think I'm a draftable player, but they might not have the picks in the later rounds to come get me. But if they do, they would come get me. And if not, if I happen to fall to free agency, and they would do everything in their power to keep me here in New Orleans. And they held true to that. So, as soon as the draft was over, I'm receiving phone calls. I'm on the phone with the Seahawks, and I'm actually was about to go to Seattle. And then my agent phone rang, and he was like, the Saints want to talk to you. And so the Saints, they made a great deal. And Coach Hodges got on the phone and expressed how much, he wanted to get this thing done. And he was one of those guys that, when I was at the local, they told me, he said, Nick, if you there, I'm coming to get you. So, I always, wanted to go to the Saints. That's where I felt most comfortable. I had an amazing local day workout with them. So really was glad that they, picked up the phone and came and got me.
As you're weighing these options, how much of ending up with the Saints is that comfort level of, I mean, you grew up in Mississippi, you played in Mississippi and in New Orleans. How much is looking at sort of scheme fit or opportunity in terms of where their depth chart is? How much is looking at the Saints have a recent track record of undrafted free agents not only making the team, but playing really big roles on some of these recent teams? What's kind of your mindset as you're sifting through some of that?
Just overall, like you said, man, things are happening at a rapid pace. So like I really had to make a decision in like 5 minutes. Was I going to Seattle or was I staying in New Orleans? And really just processing the situation. I looked at Seattle and they was bringing in more guys to rookie mini camp. And they also on the money side of things, they really didn't, offer me a huge deal. And I say that not because, I'm money hungry, because I mean like I just want to play football. But also, when it comes to the NFL, it's a business. So the more money that a team invests in you shows how much of a priority you are to them. So even with them, not wanting to go up on that or make any guarantees, I knew that they were going to be bringing in more guys. And then with the Saints roster, everything looked, like I had a genuine shot to come in and compete and get my opportunity. So it's really a lot of things that you had to consider. And also as far as the location, I've been living in New Orleans for the past 4 years. It's somewhere I'm comfortable with. New Orleans does have a very different climate that, you got to be used to with coming down here. And it's something I've been working out in the past 4 years. So I just figured as far as outside of football, all the distractions of, trying to travel, trying to fly here, fly there, find a place to stay. I knew that I wouldn't have to deal with that staying here, and I'll be in a situation where I can really just dial in and focus on football. So that's after I weighed out my options, I was like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. I'm gonna stay here in New Orleans. And then even afterwards, the next day, I saw that, Seattle had ended up signing like 30 undrafted free agents versus the Saints only signed like 13, and just me and Anthony Orji, who's a very talented player. So they really just showed that, like I said again, they were very transparent with me, and very much truthful and honest, and told me what they was gonna do. And I'm glad I made that decision.
And you get to celebrate with the Sam Mills jersey, which New Orleans folks, if they weren't already watching you at Yulman, they got real excited about that. Take me through. I mean, how long have you had that Sam Mills jersey? How long have you been watching the Saints growing up there in Vicksburg, not too far away?
Most definitely. So I grew up watching a lot of Saints games. My grandfather is a huge Saints fan. He brought me to a couple games as a child, with me being only 3 hours away. So we used to come here all the time, and I used to watch games in the dome. And so I grew up a secondhand Saints fan. My original team was the Packers growing up, simply because my little league team was the Vicksburg Packers. So when I started playing football, that was the only team I really knew. Well, I did become adopted to the Saints culture, and really just started watching the Saints and keeping up with the Saints. And then when I got down to here to Tulane, it was like, okay, I'm in an NFL city, so I might as well root for him. But overall, man, Sam Mills was first introduced to me by my defensive back coach, JJ McCleskey at Tulane. He played with Sam Mills, and then he, often made that comparison to me and told me how much I reminded, him of Sam. And that led me to, do my research on Sam, and just really find out how much of a dog he was, on the field and also off the field. A very, intelligent player, high character player, just play with a big chip on his shoulder. And then really just seeing him, go through the NFL process, and then, become a Hall of Famer, man. That's just amazing. And the fact that, he did it regardless to, how people may have looked at his size. He made the most of his opportunity. He didn't doubt himself. And, just listen to Coach McCleskey talk about him. He was one of those guys that showed up and gave it his all each and every day, worked hard, was a leader. And there's a lot of things that, I like to resemble to my game. He really, stood for a lot of things that, I try to impact and do on and off the field. So it was a no-brainer that, I wanted to make that comparison to show that, if Sam Mills can do it, then I can do it too. And just overall, he's just been somebody that I've looked up to in this whole process. And it's just surreal, man, to really, have the opportunity to follow in those footsteps of, going, being an undersized guy and going to play for the New Orleans Saints. It's very, very surreal moment. But just looking forward to, carrying on that legacy.
How quickly did you hear from JJ after it became clear that the Saints was the move, and what did he have to say? I'm sure he was pretty excited.
Yeah, JJ was excited considering that, he played for the Saints, and, he had always talked to me about the process because, he was an undrafted guy, and he always told me, he said, if it falls to, you being undrafted, you just got to have that chip on your shoulder. You already got the work ethic, but you just got to increase it. Like, you're going to go out there and you're going to ball, and they're going to give you the opportunity to make the team, but you just got to, put the work in and things like that. So, he was very excited, man. He's always been in my corner since I've been at Tulane. And it's been helpful to have somebody that, has dealt with the criticism of, being a smaller guy, but, made a career in the NFL.
How much have you had a chance to keep up with or chat with Tyjae and Dorian and some of your other teammates the last couple of weeks about where they're headed and what their opportunities look like?
Yeah, I've really been in contact with really everybody at least once. Was able to talk to Dorian the night after he got drafted, and saw how excited he was to be up there in Buffalo. Talked to Tyjae last week before he left out. We was just wishing each other well and stuff. And he sent me a picture yesterday of him and Will Levis. And then talked to Lummy Young, who's with the Colts. Will Wallace, I worked out with him yesterday. He's going up to the Commanders on Thursday. My roommate was Larry Brooks. He's going to Cincinnati, and he left out yesterday morning. Saw Shea Wyatt, Deuce Watts. One thing about us at Tulane, we always had like a strong brotherhood and a strong culture, which is why we had the season that we did last year. So, I've been, rooting them boys on and really calling them, picking their brains about how Ricky Community Camp is, because some of them have, just finished it up this past weekend. And everybody's just been supportive, man, of, trying to keep everybody on their toes and really wanting all our teammates to really just succeed, man. And everybody's been looking out for each other. I've heard from, the defensive guys as far as like, okay, like what kind of schemes y'all running, how did y'all do individual practice, what to look for and things like that. And also talking to the offensive guys, picking their brain and just saying, okay, so like how did y'all, go about this at practice, what was it like and things like that. But I'm just excited for those guys, excited that, everybody was able to get their opportunity. And just looking forward to everything.
Y'all accomplished so much during your time there, things that hadn't been done at Tulane before. And I mean, when you look at the turnaround just from a year ago to this year, things that no one anywhere has ever done before. When y'all think about the legacy that you leave on that program beyond just this accolade, that accolade, just what y'all meant to the program, what you kind of leave to the next groups, what is that? What do you hope that people remember about y'all as a group and what you were able to do in those unis the last few years?
Most definitely, man. I really just feel like the biggest lesson that can be learned from last year, is how to deal with adversity. How to, take a L and take, a tough situation and flip it around and just make the best of it. We went through everything the 2-10 year, from losses to people having injuries, to dealing with hurricanes and relocation. I mean, everything bad that could have happened that year. And then when January hit, we told ourselves, okay, this is a new season, this is a new opportunity. Are we gonna, tuck our tails and feel sorry for ourselves? Or are we gonna go out here and prove everybody wrong and play with that chip on our shoulder? And that's what we went out there and did, man. And to see the impact that we were able to have on the Tulane community, the New Orleans community, and just college football in general, was amazing, man. Like I told somebody last week, man, I'll never forget, winning that American Conference Championship game, and, the fans rushing the field and seeing, alum tearing up and hugging me, and the cameras, and just everybody just genuinely happy, and just know that us as a football team came together collectively to bring that amount of joy and that amount of pleasure to somebody by just doing what we do each and every day really just shows the effect that sports have on people and how it can really bring people together. And it really just showed me the, importance of taking pride in what I do. As long as I put on a helmet now, even at the NFL on a bigger spotlight, I know that there's kids watching, I know that there's fans watching, and there's people that are motivated by the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, and you got to take a pride in that. You can't, be selfish. You got to take pride in knowing that somebody's, looking for you for motivation, looking up to you. It's kids that, dream that, they want to be in those shoes one day. And this past season just gave me a level of pride to continue to take advantage of every opportunity I get to still play the game that I love, because it means more than just running up and down the field.
In a college sports world where when negativity comes into the picture, things can kind of spiral, guys can get down, times can get tense, people are transferring left and right. Take me behind the scenes a little bit. What worked well, or what was in y'all's minds, or communication or whatever, to stick together and accomplish what y'all did? Because it could have gone a lot of different ways, a lot of other places, but it turns into a storybook fairy tale type year for y'all to put the program in a place where it certainly hadn't been since the 90s, if ever.
Right. And so, like, one of the things that we always talk about at Tulane is brotherhood and culture. And that really rung true the off season after we had the 2-10 season. I think only maybe two guys transferred. Everybody else was like, okay, let's do it. Like, I'm not gonna quit on the team. I'm not gonna just go out like this. And it's just a level of pride on what you do. And my mom has always taught me, don't leave anything unfinished. So I just couldn't look myself in the mirror, jumping in the transfer portal and really just taking the easy way out and saying, you know what, I'm gonna go to a winning program. I was like, why can't we do it at Tulane? And the rest of the seniors were the same way. And to just look at how many guys in that senior class, 10 out of 11 guys, get NFL opportunities. Last year, we wasn't even looking for that. Our focus wasn't on, going to the NFL. Our focus was on righting the wrongs from the 2-10 season and going out there and winning the conference championship. And we set that standard the first day, the first meeting. We had a team meeting with only players, and we set the standard. Me and the other three captains said, the conference championship is the standard this year. Nothing less. Not going 6-6, not going 500, not just winning a bowl game. We want it all this year. We want it all. We want to win conference, and whatever bowl game we play after that, we're gonna win that one too. And the whole team just bought into it. Everybody was fired up. Just coming off a season where you had the media talking down on you. You had the fans giving up on you. It got to the point, our last home game of the season, barely 200 people in the stands. And it was like, okay, we're all we got. We all we need. Like, we want to right the wrongs. We want to dial in together. And team success is going to always bring individual success. So, to just see guys just be unselfish this past season and really put the team first and, really just care about each other and, care about the person they're playing next to, really just showed the reality of what can happen when everybody buys in and focus on the same goal. And it's, like I said, it's just something that really just inspired me, not only football wise, but just in life of, what you can get accomplished when everybody can, be unselfish and focus on the same task at hand. So yeah, just the reason nobody left was just the culture, man. Just, the brotherhood, the reality that all of us, have been playing with each other for so long, and we was like, okay, we don't want to go out like this. Like, we want to bring a championship to Tulane. We know we can do it. We know the talent we have on this team. Why not us?
In all of that context, when you guys are preparing for the conference championship, there is all kinds of smoke coming out that Coach Fritz might be heading to
Yeah.
Georgia Tech. That became a huge conversation piece on Twitter. How much of that do you guys see that week, and how is he addressing that with y'all, if at all? How are y'all managing that as players, knowing that as much as we talk about players moving all over the place right now in college football, it's certainly not unheard of for college coaches to be heading elsewhere during the middle of conference championship and bowl season and all of that. And obviously it works out where coach is in New Orleans and still building further on top of what you guys accomplished. But just what was that week like?
It was crazy. First of all, just coming off the previous week, playing in Cincinnati and snapping their home game streak, and really just beating the former AAC champions. That was a surreal moment within itself because it really showed that everything we had worked for, the goal that we fought to obtain, is right at our opponents. We're going back to our home stadium, Yeoman Stadium, and playing for what we prepared for all year. And so, every time, something good happens, the devil always shows up and tries to get in the way of it. So I want to say that Sunday, people started, dropping things on Twitter about, Coach Fritz leaving. And then some players, some of the guys, was getting on Teamworks and in the team, and the team messages and saying, like, what are we gonna do? And that's when, I just was like, okay, we're having a team meeting. So I called a team meeting, me and the other three captains, the Monday morning at 5 o'clock going into the championship game week. And we just was like, we didn't come this far to fall apart. Like, we have the opportunity to play for everything that we wanted, everything that we wished for since we've been at Tulane. We got that opportunity to do it right outside in Yeoman Stadium in our own backyard. We're not traveling nowhere else. We're playing here. The conference trophy is going to be in our stadium and it's not going to leave. So, like, regardless of, who's coaching us on Saturday, or regardless of what's happening on Saturday, we were the ones that, came in and busted our tails and made tackles and made touchdowns and ran and blocked and did everything to get to this moment. So no matter who's calling plays, at the end of the day, we're the ones playing on Saturday. So whether it's with Coach Fritz or who else, that's out of our control. The only thing we can control is our preparation going up into this game. So really everybody just bought in. They was like, okay, like, let's do it. Like, you're right. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to even play for a conference championship, but more than less play on their home turf and, really, cement their legacy. Let's do it, regardless of what happens, it was not in our control. We can't change. And then, Coach Fritz ended up coming the next day and saying that he's not going anywhere. He's all in with us. And that really just showed how true his character was, to turn down everything and say, you know what, I'm staying on my guys. I want to stay here in New Orleans. This is where I started. This is what I finished. Really just shows how, he resembles the same mindset of his players. When we were presented with the opportunity to leave Tulane, we didn't do it. We wanted to stay loyal to the team. So all in all, it was a little crazy time. Social media was going crazy, but we quickly put that aside and put, our eyes towards, getting that conference championship.
Yeah, and we've mentioned a couple of times it all goes well, complete the storybook and you get the conference championship against UCF. You come back from down against USC and win a Cotton Bowl and have that moment that you mentioned of seeing all the fans and their excitement. And so really, I mean, it was such a fantastic story to watch from the outside. I can only imagine being a part of it and living on the inside. And it's built now to where I think there's a lot of expectation where it just kind of keeps rolling. And you look at a really great signing class coming in to join Mike and Jaquan and some of those guys that y'all leave behind with some experience. What do you tell new guys as they're coming to visit Tulane during the recruiting process and meet you, or now that they're signed and on campus or arriving to campus soon? What would be your message to this new face, these next generation of Green Wave guys coming behind y'all's footsteps?
Just overall, remember two things. The first thing I want you to remember is the 2-10 season to the older guys. Remember what it felt like to lose. Remember what it felt like to, come in each and every day and everybody's, looking down upon you and, all the negativity that we went through. And then also remember what it felt like to win and remember what it took to win. It took coming in on a day-to-day basis, in January and the whole off season, not slacking, holding each other accountable, holding each other to a higher standard, fighting, clawing, working till you can't work anymore each and every day. And I want them to remember those things. I feel like as long as they, remember the 2-10 season and what we did to go and have the season we did last year, then I know the program will continue to be in great, great hands.
I told you I wanted to ask you a lot about New Orleans. You're a guy that has spoken about your love for the city that you've been playing in and get to continue playing in. You mentioned even as a kid growing up in Vicksburg, getting a chance to come down for Saints games. What makes that a special place to you? Why is New Orleans a place that kind of grabbed hold of you the way it did and the way it does so many people?
Just overall, man, the culture down here. New Orleans is unlike any place that I've ever been in my life. To just have people from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, races, be able to really just come together and live in almost a harmony down here. Is something that's rare this day and age. You have people from all over that come to New Orleans and, at Saints games, down in the French Quarter, uptown, downtown, just living, amongst each other with no problem. And everywhere you go, you can see the genuineness in people. A lot of people want talk down on the city and talk about, crime and this and that. But in my 4 years at Tulane, I haven't experienced nothing but positivity since I've been down here in New Orleans. And really just developed a love for the city. The city, shows love, extreme love to their football teams. They're loyal. All the fans are loyal, and they care about the players. And you can see that, people love the Saints win, lose, or draw. People love the Pelicans win, lose, or draw. And, people love Tulane win, lose, or draw. And I just feel like this city has been through a lot. And that's why, it's such a loving atmosphere because you have to depend on each other, dealing with, the natural disasters and things that New Orleans has been through. And I feel like it has definitely made this city stronger. And you can just feel it all around the city. And it's something that, atmosphere, family atmosphere that, I wanted to thrive in, and very blessed to still be here and still be, a part of that, and still had the opportunity to go out on Sundays and, just make this city proud.
If you're picking one dish in New Orleans food wise, whether it be you have a specific favorite or if you had ended up in Seattle to start your professional career, you would have missed the most having to move that far away from New Orleans. What is that item, that dish?
I would say I probably would say jambalaya. Like good old fashioned jambalaya, and just overall seafood in general. Just the way that the different restaurants and different cuisine places down here are able to make different seafood dishes and just make them so good, man. It's just unmatched from anywhere I else. You know, I'm from Mississippi and we have seafood and we have crawfish and stuff, but it's just not the same as it is down here. So, you know, I'm a big seafood person. So just overall, I say, you know, all different types of seafood, jambalaya, and just, you know, the good soul food that you get down here, you're not gonna find anybody anywhere else.
Do you have a favorite restaurant or a couple restaurants around the city that is you're trying to, if somebody's coming to visit, you want to take them to, or you would have been going to again if you had to move away and were coming back, that is just a favorite go-to place or two? I won't absolutely limit you to one if you want to mention a couple.
Okay, as far as restaurant wise, I would say Drago's, the
Mm.
oyster place. Yeah, the oysters there are truly, truly amazing. It's a very, very special place. And then as far as like a little ducked off food place, I would say MKM Creations. It's a place in Uptown, and if you go there and you ever have the surf and turf route, it's something to die for, man. Like a it's like a little quesadilla wrap with like steak, melted cheese, crawfish, lobster. Oh my God. Like it builds up on the calories, man. I gotta only eat it on special occasions, man. But it's always a joy to go to that little spot, man, and have that meal.
Are you a raw oyster guy or char grilled, or which?
Char grill.
Yeah.
Char grill. My
Do you?
grandfather, however, he eats some raw, but my I prefer char grill.
Yeah, I'm the same way. During Mardi Gras time, do you have a favorite parade? If you're feeling like you have one you've got to get to, if you have a chance to prioritize, okay, I got to make sure I at least get to this one. I know I've got work to do, or I've got other stuff on the agenda, but I want to at least hit. What is that parade?
Overall, like in the past years, I've never been able to make it to Zulu. I don't know, like just the fact of how early it starts, I've never really
Yeah.
been able to make. But this past year, I got up at about 5 o'clock, worked out, and was like, "Man, we're going to Zulu," and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Like, just the culture out there, and just seeing, you know, how many people had fun, and you know, just seeing the trucks parade, following it. It was a great day. Really see why, you know, Zulu is the grand parade to end off, cap off Mardi Gras, man. But man, it was a sight to see. And that definitely takes the crown for my favorite parade. Aside from that, I would probably say Muses is a nice parade, a really nice parade to go to. And also I want to say Hermes. Hermes is a nice little parade to go to. But Zulu definitely takes the crown as being my favorite parade. I was, you know, very happy to be out there. And didn't know that Zulu really is an all day parade. You know, like the other parades, they may last, you know, a couple hours, but really people be out there for Zulu all day. But definitely Zulu would be my favorite parade.
Do you have a favorite New Orleans musician or recording artist or brass band or rapper or whoever?
I would say rapper, Jizzle, Jizzle, Stone Cold Jizzle. I was able to meet him while I was down here. And you know, I used his song for one of my highlights for this past season. And he a really cool dude. He make nice music. I listen to him before games, but he'll probably be my favorite New Orleans rapper that, you know, that's still down here. But Lil Wayne is notorious. You know, you can never, you know, put Lil Wayne out of that category. He's definitely the king. But as far as, you know, local and, you know, starting artists, I would say Jizzle.
I asked what your advice to incoming Tulane students would be if you end up chopping it up with incoming Saints guys who don't have the benefit of having been in New Orleans these last few years. What would your first piece of advice to new first time New Orleanians coming in of just any aspect of how to approach a city where you might try and live, a place to check out, what you're doing with any free time that y'all do happen to have?
Just overall, I would just tell them, you know, Uptown is beautiful. It's a place that I've been for the past 4 years. Just, you know, being able to go to Ottoman Park, go around here to the zoo, the Fly, you know, Magazine Street, Ferret Street. They're all nice places that, you know, not too fast going. And you can go out there maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday if we have off, and just walk around and just see a lot of different venues and things like that. The French Quarter is beautiful. The Fly is a beautiful place, beautiful park that I don't think a lot of people know about. And then just City Park, is a nice little place. I'm a big nature guy, so I definitely tell them a lot of places to just be around and be outside. But just overall, my advice would be just to embrace the city. Don't really just take the criticism of things you heard about New Orleans. Yes, there's bad areas, but there's bad areas everywhere. But really just coming to New Orleans with an open mindset, and just really embrace the city, and the city will embrace you.
What are you doing on the fly? Are you taking a nap? Are you one of the guys out there playing games? Are you reading a book, listening to music, exercising? What's your vibe out there?
A lot of times we go out there and we just, listen to music. And when the tide was low and the river was down, we used to walk on the little rocks down there and skip rocks. And a couple of my teammates got dogs. We'll go out there and let the dogs run around. We'll toss the football, just listen to music. And then I know during the school year, like on Fridays, everybody would go to the Fly and watch the sunset and things like that. So it's just a great atmosphere. One of the Tulane head coaches, I would go out there and watch his sons play baseball out there too. So it's just a good family environment if you want to just be outside and just walk around.
There you go. Again, he's Nick Anderson, now former Tulane linebacker, did some phenomenal things this time with the Green Wave, and now getting ready to start that next chapter with the New Orleans Saints, just a couple days away from rookie minicamp. And Nick, I appreciate you. I know I've eaten up all kinds of your Monday afternoon. I could have chatted with you for forever, but I appreciate the time, brother.
Appreciate you for having me.
You got it. And for Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser.